why do you think people should design games? Right? What are the skills that are involved? Even if you're never going to try to get it published, you're not going to try to, start a business or anything, but just the skill set, just the everything that goes into creating a game. Why should people do that in your mind?
So when I was a little kid, I designed some games just for fun. And at the time I thought I was designing games. What it meant is that I would usually take another game and I would make my version of it. And that process in itself was really helpful for me as a kid to put my creativity and actually put something on the table. I wrote little rule books. I had little game components, things like that I drew out. But what I didn't do is I didn't play test. I usually, with these games, I play them one time and that was all they ever got to the table. As an adult now that I'm actively playing and designing games and developing games, I've learned so much about that playtesting process, that process of learning constructive feedback from other people and taking that feedback and improving the thing that I'm working on. And that skill set, I think, can be applied to anything. Putting something out there that you are vulnerable about out there to the world to share with people, and taking that feedback and actually making it better, going through that process step by step, day by day, I think is it's a universal skill set to have, even if nothing else comes of that game.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The confidence that you have to build up to be able to say, hey, I made this thing. I want you to see it, try it out. Let me know what you think. That is not a small thing to overcome, and there's so many people that are afraid of like public speaking, and they're afraid to like put themselves in front of other people. And I feel like game design, because of the playtesting process, really does that. And then also I think the process of creating a game has so much problem solving built in. That's why I love that you were doing it as a child, because I feel like as a kid, you're having to develop all these things that are like problem solving. This doesn't work. How do I make it work? This is a broken mechanism, whatever. How do I fix it? And I feel like that's maybe the best life skill you can learn is problem solving. So do you agree? Is that something else you've kind of thought about?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I go back to that story where I wish as a kid I'd actually played it more than once, because I could have developed some of those skill sets because a lot of the reason that I didn't go any further is that I'd put it on the table and it wouldn't work all that well at all. And I'd be so discouraged that I just move on to something else. I'd design something else so I'd go play outside. And I wish I had played it at least one more time, taken that feedback and played it one more time, because you're right. It's an amazing interface for problem solving.
Yeah, definitely. And then also just to be able to scratch that creative itch. I feel like humans in general are creative. I feel like that's just part of how we work. And even if like you're an accountant and all you do is numbers all day long, I feel like there's still like a seed of creativity in you, because I've never met a non-creative child. I've worked with kids. I've worked with kids in an orphanage going through like terrible trauma, like very difficult situations. Even they, in all their crazy, the crazy of their life, the chaos of their lives, were hyper creative. They wanted to draw, they wanted to color, they wanted to come up with stories, they wanted to make up their own games. But somewhere along the way, that falls off. And I don't think it's because we, grow out of it. I think life maybe pulls it from us. Maybe the way we do school, maybe the way, we kind of build relationships, and we're afraid to like you're saying, be vulnerable and put ourselves out there. We're afraid to be rejected or discouraged. And so I think the creativity in us is killed, not that it, just doesn't exist anymore. And so, man, what are your thoughts on that as far as like creativity in people in general?
I was thinking about this the other day because I was at a game day and a friend brought their kid, and a little 4-year-old kid was just having a ball by himself building like a magnet block structure, and he was telling a story while he was doing it, and he was just off in his own little world. I could hear him because I was playing a game on a kind of nearby, and it made me so happy that he was so freely creating this thing that there were no stakes at all. Like he wasn't thinking about if he had enough time to finish the story, or he wasn't thinking about his family. He wasn't thinking about if he could monetize this story or this structure that he was making. He was completely free in that creativity. And we've talked a lot today about monetization, and I think it's absolutely important to think about those things if you are trying to make a career out of game design. But you also mentioned the idea that sometimes you can just have a hobby for the sake of having a hobby, for the sake of creation. And I think a lot of great things can come from that. A lot of creative ideas and solutions can come from not having the burden of monetization sometimes, and not having the burden of paying the bills based on this thing that you're creating. And I think that's how sometimes I want to be able to tap into that inner child a little bit more with those types of projects, and maybe give myself permission to make something not for publication, but just for the sake of creating it.